right, welcome back. So, last time we played, you had gone around, done a bunch of shopping, getting things in order. You had found out the ship was complete. You had managed to talk with a lawyer who told you that you had been willed a pirate's fortune. And you had been given coordinates to the first clue to find the actual treasure itself.
Pirate Horde.
Yes. Otto's bar has been set up and has been producing money. You had spoken with Professor Stone Snout, looking for some magic items to purchase, do some sales. Mostly a shopping episode, but either way. So you are at you're at the Windsong Manor. You are attempting to help Sathara. And you've also been given a summons by the Duke.
So yeah, I guess we gotta head to the sea tower.
Tower.
All right, so you're heading to the sea tower?
So let us go.
All right.
Let us do the thing.
Okay. Are you going by foot or by cart?
Ooh. Let's be fancy. People need to know that we're wealthy.
They don't.
But then how would they know?
Fiffle, when you want to rob somebody, how do you usually choose who you go for?
Oh. All right, I get it now. Piffle throws a burlap sack on over his fine coat.
The sack is rough, kind of itchy.
Good. They'll never get me gold this way.
The feeling of poverty.
All right. Well, you've been to the sea tower before. You make your way over. The tower itself, as you remember it, there are guards out in front. The gates are shut. They see you approaching. Halt. You have to have permission to access the sea tower.
Don't you know who we are?
What he means is we've got a summon from the Duke.
And
Yeah.
we'll present the letter.
He takes a look at the letter. Okay, everything appears to be in order. Kind of like wraps his spear against the gate, and you can hear a mechanism begin to unlock the actual gate itself, and the kind of wooden doors swing out, and you're able to enter in. Courtyard, you've seen it a couple times before, especially in the kind of future vision dream-esque nightmare you've experienced recently. But you can see that the fountain is out front. The fountain has been drained. There's no water flowing through it as it is winter. Snow kind of covers the area of the front yard, with an exception of the pathway to the actual sea tower itself having been cleared out. You're able to march forward and enter into the sea tower. At the front is waiting just a adjunct who sees you and recognizes you. Ah, Crossblades, good to see you. The Duke is willing and ready to meet you. Give me just a few minutes to get everything in order, and we will have you in a meeting with them shortly.
Thank you.
They leave, offer you a couple of seats right at the front. After about 15 minutes, they return. Please follow me. We will be going all the way up to the top. And you begin a kind of long process of walking up the spiraling staircase. Good 20 stories before you eventually arrive at the area where the Duke has his office and his quarters. The adjunct leads you into a large open room. There are a number of people inside, and you can see a table has been set up that shows a map of Viderheim itself. A number of them are discussing. You're not really sure. You can't quite make out what they're saying right now, but you do recognize the Duke. You recognize Sir Gale. You've seen a few other people who are assisting them. And you can see a taller, well-armored man. He's more tan, so you don't suspect he's from Viderheim. And you see him discussing something with the Duke. What do you all do?
Graham will approach, but not.
Interrupt.
Yeah, not interrupt and not be like obviously eavesdropping or anything. Just kind of patiently waiting your turn.
Same.
While we patiently wait our turn, I squint in suspicion at this swarthy foreigner. As one does.
The well-armored man kind of looks at you after he finishes talking with the Duke. You sees Fiffle squinting at him. The Duke interrupts. Crossblades. It's good to see you again. I see you received my letter. I was told that you were out adventuring when it first arrived, so I'm glad you were able to make it
So
by.
much adventuring.
Yeah, sorry about the delay. We were underneath Talva.
I had heard that the Farcaster underneath Talva has been reactivated. Good. Will allow us to send a few people back and forth between the two cities without having to worry about crossing the blockade through Drindir. So, either way, I have some developments with the war. I'm hoping I might be able to assist. And please, allow me to introduce the Paladin Satine here. The tall man nods his head. He speaks common with a slight accent. Greetings. I am Paladin Satine of the Order of War.
Graham
Out of
and
character.
Pottersfield.
Out of character. Would this be like a paladin of conquest or something?
Nope. He doesn't technically have a real subclass.
Okay.
Can I make a religion check?
Yes, go ahead.
I will do that as soon as my sheet loads up.
Oh, yours is slow too? Okay, it's just not me.
Roll 20. There we go. All right. Yeah, Graham. So you know that the Order of War is a. They're not necessarily a religious order, but they do get. They have patrons. They worship different war gods. This man, you would suspect that he would probably be somebody who would follow the teachings of the Arwellan god. You suspect probably Nextus the warrior. And you've heard of Order of the War paladins before. They generally are hired on as mercenaries, as they will go from conflict to conflict, attempting to fulfill their oaths. You know they see war as almost kind of purifying effect. But they also have very strict guidelines to how it needs to be conducted.
While Graham is doing that, I will also introduce myself.
Okay.
And we'll just, Auto Acoustus, order the yard.
He bows to you.
I will return his bow.
It's not a full bow; it's just like a bowing of the head. But
Yeah, the nod. The guy, the bro code.
the Duke cuts in. Sir Satine here is a defector to our cause. He was working for the Count of Drindir.
Let's see. That can't have been easy.
Satine cuts in. The Count had hired myself and some of my associates several months ago. We had crossed the sea in order to assist him with his various conflicts here. I was under the command of his nephew. Unfortunately, an incident occurred that required me to leave his command and return to act as a military advisor on behalf of the Duke.
I see. Was he up to no good then?
He had been raiding different villages, putting the various villagers and peasants to the sword. When I informed him that that was against my oath, he responded in a less than courteous fashion. My men and I then strung him up from a tree, which the Count did not appreciate.
Nice.
So he proceeded to order my death, seeing that he was not conducting a war in a fashion that I would find that would,
Honorable.
yes, honorable is a good way to put it. I then went to the Duke. A war is still in effect. I have given my oath to provide my expertise, and the Duke was happy to accept and has promised he will not act in a way that is dishonorable or would violate my oath.
Oh, it's good to hear. Grim situation, but good that people of character are doing something about it.
I've been able to acquire a number of different informants throughout the Count's army who have been able to provide me different tidbits of information that have been useful to get a wider idea of the conflict at hand. We are somewhat in a stalemate as it is, although they are slowly making progress. The Count has been able to hire, among other different mercenaries, a group from my homeland of Arwell, the Divine Riders of Nextus. They're a group of elite cavalry who have been raiding different villages throughout Talva or Vaxfall itself. We have also heard that pirates, led by the Pirate Admiral Booth Braxton, have been engaging different ships that have been heading towards Vaxfall, but different ships that are heading towards cities allied to the Count have been left alone, suspecting that the Count and the Pirate Admiral are in cahoots.
Would track. How about overland? Where is it safe to travel, and where will we be expecting troop lines to meet?
Between Talba and Vaxfall are the most dangerous area of them all, with Drindir having been the greatest amount of troops. Portis has also provided troops, blocking off access along the northern road, as well as other troops being landed in between Sutton and Pern, cutting off Vaxfall from the greater access to the rest of the country, unless, of course, we travel by sea, which unfortunately requires pirate threats to... this has put us in somewhat of a standstill. As for safer areas, the north is safer. The western coast, with the Count of Asarai and the city of Drael, the Count there has thrown their lot in with Drindir and has been able to access the majority of the western coast up along the safe harbors.
So it sounds like they might try to make a move to completely cut off Vaxfall and cut the head off instead of wage out the war proper.
They're also able to connect. The Count of Silsanus is allied with Drindir and has been able to link troops up between those two cities. They're also then attempting to cut Talva off. If they can cut off the various cities from each other, then we are going to be in a much tougher position as they can defeat us in detail.
So what's the plan? Once the snow thaws?
What do you need us to do?
We believe that sending in different small mobile groups of highly trained, highly experienced mercenaries, or adventurers in this case, would be able to pass by various army lines and achieve success behind enemy lines. It would be useful to assassinate various different members of the political and military hierarchy. If you're able to intercept some of the mercenaries that the counts have hired, or some other different military leaders they have access to who I'm not familiar with. That leads to two other people who I have been able to identify. One is a druidess who has been able to alter the weather in a localized area. Snow normally would restrict army movements, but now, with her help, they've been able to warm the areas they're passing through, making army movement very easy for them and difficult for us. This would require a very high level, very experienced druidess. The other one is a figure from Viderheim history referred to as the Lightning Knight. They apparently an old rebel from many hundreds of years ago. Either someone is pretending to be the Lightning Knight, or perhaps more concerning, they have been able to resurrect the Lightning Knight as some sort of undead.
That would fall well within my purview to take care of.
You are always trying to do that.
Alternatively, if we are able to defeat the power of the pirate, Braxton, we would be able to use the Viderheim Navy to the full extent. Drindir does not have access to a good navy. Sarai Drael is also generally restricted as their harbors are smaller, and the majority of the fleet would be running out of Vaxfall itself, as that would allow us to then have full control of the coast and would prevent Vaxfall from being cut off from the rest of the country. The other thing we need to understand is there are different counts who have yet to throw their hand in with either of the rebels or the Duke. So if you're able to perhaps go to those counts and convince them to support the Duke, that would give us more numbers. The Count of Vask has shown himself to be reluctant to pick a side. Having access to Vask would allow us to control a good portion of the routes cutting off at Viderheim, as it is one of the largest and most well-armed fortresses. It's an entire fortress city among Viderheim.
So, the Count of Vask, you want us to bribe this guy?
He is not a man that can be bribed.
Okay, so you want us to threaten this guy?
I think we're supposed to kill this guy.
Oh!
Or at least bring him in. But,
Gosh.
No, it's quite literally, I would like you, if you're able, to convince him to support the Duke. It is Count Venric is his name. He's, I suppose, dour would be a very good description of him. But with his control of the city of Vask, he is mostly unassailable, which has allowed him to maintain his neutrality in this conflict. The other thing we're concerned about is if the rebels are attempting to sway him to their side, having control of Vask would be a very difficult prospect for us.
well, we can add that to the list of things to attempt. Find out what he wants, any kind of assurances. Are there any weak links in They counts supporters and mercenaries beyond just beating them. Anybody who might be persuaded to change sides or decide it's not worth it or trying to get one specific thing, we could deny them.
The Divine Riders would not be swayed. They're more religiously driven. The money that is paid has been more of a sweetening of the deal. The other mercenaries, however, would be willing to swap sides if we could deliver them more money. That being said, the treasure is currently locked up here in Vaxfall, unable to reach them. We would need to break the blockade to be able to deliver the money to them in order to actually have them change sides. There have been other mercenaries being brought in by ships that have not been bothered by the various pirates that have been swarming throughout the coastline. And we've noticed each ship coming in that has not been attacked is from the country of Zadora.
Okay.
Zadora being what considers itself the successor state to Arwell. We are concerned that they might be making a play to attempt to rebuild the Arwellan Empire, but with Zadora as the new head. But either way, if Viderheim can defend itself, can stop this war, then we would be putting a tremendous amount of stress on that plan.
All right.
Of course, the other thing is we would be willing to give you a letter of approved piracy, which would allow you to then raid Zadora ships.
That could be something. We've got a few things that might take us out on the water, and it's not like we'll be able to make much inland progress till the thaw, short of being able to teleport to Talva.
With a small group such as yourself, you'd be able to pass by army lines without too much trouble. We've been using members of the Road Wardens to deliver messages where the message spell would fail. Their knowledge of the landscape has been invaluable. We've also been conscripting them to act as guerrillas who have been able to raid different sections of the rebel army. They've been quite adept at hit and run, but they are not meant as soldiers. Although they're doing a good job from what little experience they have.
Yeah. We might have somebody who can help from some business of our own, but it's going to require navigating a delicate political situation, and it's one we plan to bring to your attention today.
What would that be?
We were tasked after a wanted criminal named Sathara, and we managed to capture her, and I'll tell you the whole story, but to make a long story short, she wound up helping us, and I promised I would do what I could to try to argue clemency for her life. Her crimes are serious, but having heard her story, and given some of the nature of those crimes, I'd like to put her under my custody so she can start repaying her debt to society, as it were.
Out of character, real quick. Sathara was a God, Jesus, internet. Sathara was a pretty solid mage too, right?
Yeah.
She had some magic, yeah.
Her skill set might be extremely. So I would just add her skill set would be extremely valuable in conflict like this too.
We certainly had enough scrapes
she's more
along
than-
the road where she
Yeah,
proved
she's more than
resourceful.
she's
That
more
could be
than helped us.
The
Yep.
dude here's this. You'll have to speak with Sir Gale concerning this. I'm sure her skill set would be very useful for the cause here. Being able to utilize her as a spy or a saboteur would be very good. However, she is meant to be under the custody of the Order of the Yard, from my understanding.
Yeah, we'll address things with Sir Gale. Just wanted to inform you, and if we have some time, I'll go over the particulars with you before we make our case.
Speak with Sir Gale first. I have some other business to attend to, but I will be available. And if you need to reach me, I have given the Sea Tower permission to be accessed by your guild fully.
Thank you. Was there any other, out of character, was there any other business we wanted to go over that was kind of the high priority stuff?
With the Duke?
I think that was the high priority.
We had some money moves we wanted to make, but this is like a war council, so this isn't the time.
It's open for anything.
Can you imagine telling the Duke is like, give me a second to look at our sheet?
I paused time to review my notes.
It's going to be a challenge.
I do not see anything else that we needed to bring up here. Yep, I see nothing unless you see anything.
Yeah, my brain is pudding. I will not be useful. This is a threat.
I don't believe you had anything that you had wished to discuss with the Duke beyond that.
All right, then.
Although you did want to expand the actual adventuring guild.
That's true.
Yeah, but we're also doing that into Talva too, so that would also probably benefit us on the war.
Yeah, Graham will bring that up, the idea of setting up another branch in Talva as part of our expanded operations. That will let us keep a better eye on things, give us an inland base point, and, help us recruit more people for essential tasks, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and maybe the Farcaster can be improved to do multiple teleportations. Never know. All right, I'm ready.
Yes, so. Do you mention this all to the Duke?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Listens in. Well, there's nothing in your charter saying that you cannot expand the guild. In fact, my understanding is the guild had shrunk over the past 70 or so years. The Countess of Talva would need to approve any land sales. As for people you're hiring, we have pressed any able-bodied person we can get into the war. So they are currently being hired. However, we are waiting to get some additional reinforcements from other countries who have been willing to assist us, and other mercenaries have been able to hire from outside once we can actually break the blockade of Viderheim. So if you're able to get the lands sorted with the Countess and recruit anybody coming in, we'd be perfectly happy with having the Crossblades expand, as it would then give you access to help in other areas rather than just your single group of people who have been very, very competent at your job, but you can only be at one place at a time.
Quite. Well, happy to hear it. We'll do what we can for Viderheim as we plan our next moves, and keep you posted.
All right, good. In the meantime, Sir Gale is here, so he would like to speak with you about Sathara.
Out of character, if this was like a comedy like adventure, like Otto would be in the background like trying different pirate tricorns on right now. And Hank too.
Hank has already been doing that. The moment he heard about pirates, Hank was like
Frank
putting on
never
pirate's
stopped.
hat.
He's
Or
gonna
Hank.
be. He's
Frank
gonna be.
is his twin brother.
And then he's just gonna be hands on the other.
Oh, you're kind of breaking up there.
Out of the way. There.
Nope, still breaking up. Sorry. All right, what is Fiffle up to?
I will be right back while you answer that question.
So we've just had our convo with the Duke.
Yeah, you had a meeting and had some different options laid out in front of you.
What is Pistol doing now? I mean, I don't know. Pistol didn't have any immediate plans besides whatever we decide to do next.
Fiffle just lives in the moment.
Yeah, Pistol's kind of living in the moment.
All right.
You know, I go feed my ostrich.
All right. And Ed, is your internet working again?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think it might just be because it's a little windy out there.
Ah, well, anyway, you're coming through loud and clear now, so we can hear you.
Yeah, it just kind of changes randomly because there's like no issue, so it has to be some shit. I don't know. But
Place I lived
no,
once, my connection would go out like every time it got to a certain temperature because a box on the street was overheating. Took several service calls to convince them.
but yeah, I know. I was just picturing we just fire Hank through a cannon on the other ship deck, and he just starts eating on the hands.
Attack mimic, very good.
Good work.
But yeah. All right, so I guess we need to discuss with Sir Gale.
Yep. Well, it's not hard to miss him. He is a Goliath, so he stands feet above everybody else. He is near 8 feet tall. He is wearing his heavy armor, full plate. He has the cape on with the Order of the Yard symbol on the back. He has the full symbology of his office on his armor. You can see he is armed. He strides up to you. We did receive a letter just last night that said that you had been able to apprehend Sathara.
Correct.
And she has been sentenced to death.
By who?
Quite a few people, actually.
Yeah.
The dwarven clans.
All a grave robin, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the dwarven clans that she had wronged were. That would not be a death sentence, but it was a fact that she did kill a member of the Order of the Yard, accidentally or otherwise, which has seen her sentenced to death. If she is in your custody, we will be able to take her, and as soon as possible, we will take her to the Whitestone Yard, and I will personally put her head on the block and take her head off.
Okay, out of character is like that was so straightforward and to the point that I expected nothing less from Sir Gale.
And yeah, he's got his big, like, two-handed axe that you have seen him use before.
This is where Graham is supposed to speak up, but he's not back, so I will. We'll just pretend that Graham is in absolute shock right now, and I will say, Sir Gale, is like, while Graham recovers from the matter-of-fact path you take, he would like to, what's the word, man? Like, plead for leniency, and he has a case for you. I will say on her behalf, she has more than helped us, and her skill set may be of value to you during the war, if you would like to consider that. And then, I don't know if we want to pause for Matt now to make his case.
Actually, Sir Gale wants to speak to you, to Sir Otto, in private.
Okay, we can do that.
He kind of takes you to the side. Sir Otto, you have proven to be a good member of the Order of the Yard. We've heard you've been able to sort out a number of cases. But I must remind you that you cannot let your feelings get in the way of the law. You have taken an oath that does require you to punish the wicked. Do you remember the oath?
I do. And out of character here, an oath of vengeance though allows like for a minor evil to be looked to the side for the greater good, and the Count of Drendir is the greater evil in this case. Would you not agree?
Her ability to assist is up for debate. But we also must remember no mercy for the wicked. Ordinary foes might win your mercy, but sworn enemies do not.
No mercy? What about just a tiny bit?
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with him, but I am just.
But more importantly, Sir Otto, by any means necessary, my qualms cannot get in the way of exterminating my foes. She's broken the law. She's killed a fellow brother in arms. By the very law, her head must be removed.
And I fully understand what. So my question to you, Sir Gale, is what would it take for her, between us, to convince you otherwise?
To convince me, there is no convincing. By my oath that I've taken, by the very law, I must strike her head from her body. And Sir Otto, I must remind you that you must follow the oath that you have taken. This oath we have taken, it is difficult. It is one that requires a great deal of courage, of self-motivation. It is not a path that is easy to follow, but it is one that we have sworn to follow. Now, if you are speaking of what legal methods can be done to spare her life, she would require a pardon from the Duke. If the Duke does provide the pardon, then I will acquiesce, and she will live and be freed from my judgment.
Pardon from the Duke.
That is
Just
understood.
talk to the Duke. He said to go talk to this douchebag.
It's funny
I have.
because out of character, because Otto 100% agrees with him, even though he has sympathy. Ed, the player, is conflicted.
Well, the other thing is, you're right now kind of pushing against your oath.
I know that's exactly why this happened.
So, Otto, I ask you to stand with me. I know this is in conflict with your guild, but I ask you to stand with me in condemning this murderer.
I would actually in this case, but because that's the path I chose.
Thank you. You've always proven, despite the short amount of time you've been with our order, to be a very reliable, very honorable member. And I appreciate the difficulty that this does require from you, this choice. I also will not ask you to attend her execution. You will not be required to handle it, to complete it yourself. This will fall squarely upon my shoulders, and I will be the one to strike her head from her body so that none else may have to.
How nice of him to not make you do it, Otto.
Right. Even though this is the one-on-one, I can hear Fiffle eavesdropping. Because it's such a Fiffle thing, too. Okay, so now, Matt makes his...
You guys have, like, kind of gone aside, you know? You think people can't hear you, but Fiffle kind of, like, sidled up into earshot.
Yeah, actually, make a stealth roll just to see if they actually notice you.
Okay.
Even if I notice him, I'm not going to out Fiffle at all.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not going to perceive better than Fiffle's stealths.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, I mean, Fiffle could roll like a 2, although that'd still be a 14.
Just for ha-has, I want to try.
Okay.
I'm not going to perceive the man. He's unperceivable.
Nope. I mean, Fiffle will be right next to you, and you wouldn't even notice with that stealth roll.
But yeah.
And Sir Gale wouldn't notice.
Yeah, like I want to get her leniency, but I know I can't. I knew I was pushing the Oathbreaker thing really far there. Even though she's not my sworn enemy.
the vengeance does definitely like focus on like lawful neutral Judge Dredd almost.
Yeah.
So
that's why I tried to plead the case, but I wasn't going to really push it because that one really falls on Mr. Graham.
yeah, out of character, you do have a few options ahead of yourself. So
I had the pardon like in the back of my mind that we could probably do the pardon, but that's going to take one hell of a convincing on the Duke, and I don't think I can be involved in that one. That one's going to have to be all Matt.
But
well,
You can
anyway,
convince him.
are
Sir
we talking to
Gale.
Gale?
Yes.
Basically,
Sir Gale he thanks Otto, says, I'm sure you would wish to inform the members of your guild.
long story short, and I'm going to use out of character terms here. She lives at Oathbreak. It
Okay, breaking up a little again.
stupid. Yeah.
All right.
And
Yeah,
and the-
sorry, Ed, you're breaking up a lot.
Dumb.
That being said, Fiffle did eavesdrop on the conversation, so Fiffle.
That's true.
Would you immediately go and tell Graham, or?
It depends what Otto was gonna say, kind of. If
and
I would tattle or not.
Am I getting better?
Yes, yep, we can hear you again.
I don't know what the. It's just packet loss randomly.
Boo.
Basically, I will.
Packets.
Packets are getting lost everywhere. I will. I'm pushing the boundaries of oath breaking. You would need a pardon from the Duke, Mr. Graham, and this is not something I can help you as it's Gale's sworn enemy. By the tenants, he's going to execute her unequivocally.
Unless the Duke pardons her?
Unless you get a pardon.
Okay. I guess Graham will see if the Duke is still available.
Okay. The Duke is discussing with the Paladin. He also is standing next to Sir Gale, who has arrived and is speaking with the Duke. So they're about 15 feet from you.
Graham will approach kind of the same way, maybe with a little more intent focus on we need to talk.
The Duke sees you. Yes. Graham, the Sir Gale here has informed me that you have a prisoner.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a letter arrived last night is what he was told me, indicating that you have somebody in your custody. We will need to dispatch members of the Order of the Yard to arrive at your manor house to take her into our full custody. Is that acceptable to you?
Well, that depends, because my understanding is both Sir Gale and Otto are bound to, by their code, to see this woman dead in the name of justice. And the problem is that won't bring justice.
We've rehabilitated her.
Well, it ain't so simple as that. She's got a lot to make up for, and I intend to personally see to that. But in order for her to be spared and to uphold their oaths, she would need a pardon from yourself. And I understand that's a huge ask, but I'm willing to commit anything you need me to do or say to make that happen.
Sir Gale, send some Order of the Yard members to take the convict in question into custody at the Order of the Yard. You are not to execute her until I give the go-ahead. You are dismissed. Once Sir Gale leaves, he turns to you. Graham, I'm in a bit of a politically tenuous situation here. The Order of the Yard have lost a member to her, and they're not happy, and I need to keep them happy so that they will not give me any trouble. They would not break their oath, they would follow the law. And speaking of that, a pardon from me would supersede any oath they have. They would then have to follow the law. If I pardon her, they would have to accept that. But they're still rather upset that she did accidentally or otherwise kill one of their members. The other thing is the dwarven clans that she has stolen from are politically well connected, and I do need to keep them happy as well. If you're able to speak with the clan representatives based out of Vaxball here, convince them to, if not provide a full pardon for her, at least something other than a death sentence, I would be in a better position to provide a pardon for her. And you would also probably have to smooth things out with the Order of the Art as well. If you can manage this, I will give her a pardon and at least reduce her sentence from death to perhaps the initial one of serving however many years upon the rock.
Would pressing her into military service as part of her sentence be something we could consider? Because putting aside right and wrong, she could be very useful to us.
Yes. We are in a bit of an interesting situation where morality must give way to practicality. Personally, from what I was told, I would actually prefer that she be pushed into the war effort, as her skill set would benefit us. Of course, that would also be if she is able to prove trustworthy. That's the real problem. For all I know, she could defect immediately to the Count if things turn against us. I need somebody who is going to be solidly reliable.
I'm willing to put my name on the line for her, including custody of her, possibly with Serato as her minder from the yard, if we can make them agree to that. But as he said, he might be too close to the situation to be permitted that.
Yeah, Serato is in a bit of an interesting situation, as he has made an oath to both strike her head from her body and is allied with you as part of your guild, which has apparently shown that they are willing to provide some leniency for her. The situation is not enviable. But once again, if I do provide the pardon, the Order of the Yard must respect that. Although I would then need to deal with the difficulties that would create. You understand my position, of course.
Of course. I want to make this as painless for everybody, including the Order of the Yard. I'm uniquely qualified to speak on matters of crimes against the dead, and I'm hoping that I can make the Dwarven clan understand that.
To make things a little easier for you, I'm going to allow Sir Otto a bit more leniency among his oath, as I am going to give a special order to him to provide full investigation of this matter, which wouldn't violate his oath. It would just give him a bit more wiggle room to actually assist you in this case.
Oh, I appreciate that.
As far as I can push this matter for right now, however, if you can get the Dwarven clans to give her some pardon, some leniency, it would allow me a path forward. And
I'll start working on that right now.
Well, the clan representatives for Vaxfall are available. In fact, they are on the lower floor of the sea tower. If you wish to speak with them, they're available.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you working with me on this. I understand you're in a very difficult position, and I'll do everything I can to help you in it.
And I should mention I can delay her execution by a week at the most, so not a tremendous amount of time, so please do your best to quicken this.
Understood. And Graham will bow and depart to do that, and fill in the team on Side quest: the spiritual ghost lawyer yokel.
Wonderful.
Ye, and I can't stress this enough. Aw.
I knew I was in a tough spot when he pulled me aside. I knew I was already
It was
pushing
just like, crap.
the oath breaking.
Oh yeah. The oaths are good. They're fun. They're great for role playing too.
It's just I knew I was pushing it, and the only leniency I had in it was it's his sworn enemy and not mine.
Sure. But he's your boss.
He is my boss, and
The consequences will be he's really passive aggressive when you meet at the coffee maker in the morning.
All right.
Okay, Graham will move out to seek the Dwarven clan representatives.
All right. So, you were told they are on the lower floors of the sea tower.
Mm-hmm.
An adjunct meets you. Crossblades. I was told you need to speak with the Dwarven representatives.
Yep. About a matter of sensitivity and importance.
Good. Follow me then.
Graham will follow.
He brings you down. As he's bringing you down, he's like, yes. The Dwarven clans have representatives in each of the major cities in Viderheim. The dwarves are actually very politically connected here within the country. They own a lot of land. They're very well connected, politically aligned with the Duke. Very powerful allies. So it's just been. The Duke asked me to just remind you to do tread carefully when speaking with them.
Of course.
Yes.
Time to roll some nat ones.
Anyway, I've arranged the meeting. They were in between meetings, so you should be all set. Enter in there, make your case. If you have a lawyer, I'd recommend you go and get them right now, or at least
right,
I can go and send a messenger to collect them.
If you would, thank you.
What's your lawyer's name?
Did we write it down?
Who is that guy with the peg leg?
Yes, it was the lawyer who would come to you to read the will was Royce Prescott.
Sounds extremely lawyerly.
I assume we don't have the contact info for the psychotic kobold lawyer.
She was in Drindir.
Yeah. Just dust cloud on the horizon as she just runs through all the blockade lines to get here to represent us.
Yeah, Dustfoot. What's her name?
Phoenix Wrongs. Yeah. Graham will ask them to go pick up. Fuck, I already forgot again.
Royce Prescott.
Royce Prescott, thank you. I'm going to forget again. I apologize.
All right. Well, I'll send a messenger to get him right away. But the dwarves are not the most patient. I would recommend you speak with them as soon as possible. If Prescott can join you, you should be able to do so soon, I imagine. Our messengers are very quick.
Thank you kindly. Graham will go to start the meeting, I guess.
All right.
Anybody coming with me?
It said BRB. Is
You meeting
Fiffle.
with who? Who are you meeting?
The Dwarven clans were trying to get them to ease off on wanting Sathara dead.
Oh.
As part of trying to navigate the political calculus of.
Oh, you'll definitely need my representation, Graham. I'll definitely.
I just
go
got
with
back, so let me know.
Okay, are you coming with? We're speaking to.
I'll go with you. No,
okay, our lawyer is on the way, and it was recommended.
I'm gonna sub in.
Step very lightly, like don't piss these guys off. We need them, and don't keep them waiting, etc., etc.
I mean, at worst, I'm here to make sure that you don't try to pull any fast ones. Wink, wink.
Okay. So Graham plus whoever will go in.
All right. As you enter in, the room you can see is standard human height. So it looks rather cavernous for these shorter dwarves. But there is a large, stout table set in the center. You can see there are 5 seats, although one of them is empty. As you enter in, you can see there is a older dwarf. His beard is completely white. He has the full dress of his station. You can see he has a kind of iron chain around his neck with the metal disc stamped with the symbol of his clan. Next to him, you see a even older dwarf who is more wizened, looks a little more kind of stooped over, and also is dressed very well, but isn't as has every symbol of their station dressed upon them. There is then a somewhat younger dwarf still. She is rather old. Her hair is also white. She is wearing the clan symbols on her as well. And then the 4th seat, you can see a much younger dwarf. She is taller than the rest. She's also a little bit thinner. And you can see that her ears, instead of being rounded like a dwarf's, are a little bit pointed.
Can Graham make a history check for good diplomatic etiquette for dwarves?
Yes, please, go ahead.
20.
All right. Yes. Graham, remember the dwarves are generally very traditional, very hierarchical. You would want to defer to the older dwarf first, who would be in between he'd be the 2nd seat.
Okay.
And you know that dwarves are very much big on just be as respectful as possible, much like you were talking to the Duke.
Okay.
And also you know that they're very family oriented, so that is something you would remember as being important, is that they are very clan focused.
Okay. Graham will bow to them all from oldest to youngest and say, thank you for meeting with me. My name is Graham of the Potter's Field with the Crossed Blades in service to the Duke. First off, I would like to extend my deepest condolences for the crimes against your kin that bring me to this discussion today.
The dwarves bow in kind. The older of the dwarves kind of has a raspy voice, finds it a little more difficult to speak. Graham of Potter's Field. I am Vorbin Silverbelt, representative of Clan Silverbelt. Thank you for meeting with us today. My associates, he points to the first dwarf on the seat. This is Galtrick Bitterbane, of Clan Bitterbane. The woman to my left is Desura Frostriver of Clan Frostriver. Sylvana Underforge, there, of Clan Underforge. And then the last seat there is for the representative of Clan Emberborn, who no longer exists. You are speaking to us on behalf of the grave robber Sathara.
Yes, that's right.
Wonderful.
I'll not waste your time. I believe that the call for her head should be reduced but not eliminated in the interests of the nation, the living, the dead, and the cause of justice.
Okay. I'm going to let Galtrick here take over. Galtrick, please speak first. The dwarf stands up. Grandma Potter's Field. She has defiled our most sacred burial sites, stolen from us in greed. I see no reason why she should keep her head upon her shoulders. The Duke has been quite happy and willing to allow our execution. This would satisfy our clans. I am going to vote that she be punished severely. I will be quite happy to watch her head roll across the white stone bricks.
I would like to contend that her crimes were not of greed, but of desperation. I won't ask you to absolve her, but she lived a hard life that brought her to the path she was upon. And I serve the goddess Eidos. We attend to the spiritual rest and the justice for the dead that the living can deny them through action or inaction. I'm not asking you to turn a blind eye to what she's done, and I would personally assist you with settling the crimes and wrongs done by upon the spirits of your ancestors. And I would like to bring her into that service as well, make her understand the depths of what she had done. And I believe she does begin to understand, and I consider it my duty to carry that out so crimes like hers can be prevented in the future by somebody who understands.
At this point, Desura Frost River speaks up. Thank you for speaking with us, Sir Graham. You say that crimes would be prevented, but would by showing mercy and leniency just encourage others to rob our graves further? If they know that they can simply avoid any punishment or the extreme punishment by pleading mercy, would that not just encourage further intrusions upon the spiritual matters? The dead and our clans being defiled like this are extremely in poor taste for us. It sent shockwaves through the clans to find out that she had done this. Your arguing for leniency doesn't seem like it would be the best option.
I'm not asking to completely commit her sentence and turn her free. I want her to live to take responsibility for the consequences of her actions and set them right. And anybody who would seek to commit this crime wouldn't see somebody who got away scot-free, but had to redeem herself in the eyes of the living and of the gods and of the very dead that she wronged. I promise you that I'm not asking for her to go free. Even had the Dwarven clans not been involved in this, knowing she was a grave robber, it is my responsibility to correct that wrong. I genuinely believe that letting her live would... How do I phrase this? I'm high. Graham does not say that in character. I genuinely believe letting her live is the best course of action for justice in this case. I don't ask you to forgive, and I certainly don't ask you to forget. I'm prepared to offer you any assurance I can for her life, including putting my own head on the block if I fail to meet your expectations.
At this point, Vorben Silverbelt speaks up. You speak an interesting thought there, Graham of Pottersfield. What punishment besides death do you think would be most just?
Well, in the long term, I plan to bring her before Eidos so she can... I suppose judgment isn't the right word, but serve the interests of the dead in return for her crimes against them. And that would be... I have seen the dead since I was born. It's a calling that you cannot ignore, and I don't believe she would. I would also suggest some time on the rock, especially given her murder of an Order of the Yard member attempting to escape, accidental or otherwise. She has blood on her hands as well as her crimes against your own. I've been working on trying to speak with Sir Gale about that as well. He also wants her dead, and I certainly can't say I blame any of you. But on top of service and on top of prison, I think her talents could be genuinely spent in service of this war for the Duke.
Graham, give me a religion check, please.
I will try that.
Do it with advantage.
Yay! 22.
All right. Graham, something's been kind of tugging at the back of your head, and you're being kind of drawn towards this empty seat at the table here, and you are pretty sure that there is a spirit that is sitting there that is invisible to everybody else. And now that you are more aware of it, you can sort of see it beginning to form and appear, and you can see a kind of ghostly dwarven man. You can see that he has the symbol of Clan Emberborn stamped on the metal around his neck. And you're getting like a very strong sense from him having kind of appeared, as you've mentioned, Eidos, as you've mentioned, being able to see the dead. And if you really listen, you can actually hear some of what he is saying.
Can we, because of Graham causing this to kind of happen, do we see like the air kind of like move around that area? Or
you feel a chill.
Graham will look at each of the living dwarven representatives and say, excuse me, I believe the representative from Clan Embermore would like to contribute. And he will bow formally to the empty seat. And I don't know if this would work. Would I be able to try to cast Speak with Dead on the spirit so it's more visible to the living?
Yes. Yes, you can.
I'm going to do that.
All right. Go ahead. You cast Speak with Dead, and the spirit coalesces and becomes visible to everybody in the room.
Piffle squeaks and jumps in the air.
The other members are shocked at this. Some of them go for their weapons. Mostly Galtrick goes for his weapons. The other ones kind of just stand aside. The Sylvania Underforge, closest to him, kind of like shuffles her chair further away. Greetings! I'm here as a representative of Clan Emberborn, the Forgotten Clan. She has raided our most sacred burial sites. For that, I say she be given mercy. The mercy of death.
Dang it.
Knew there was another shoe there.
Sylvina kind of looks to you. Clan Emberborn had pulled away from the traditional gods and begun to worship gods of madness. They are not exactly all together there.
Is that why they're all dead? Who actually killed these guys?
Well, they're not all dead, but they've scattered from Viderheim. They don't have any real presence left anymore, but the majority of them did die either in battle or through various mishaps, possibly by Colty himself. Although, she
do I
kind of
still
looks.
have that culty symbol that we found? Yes, I do.
She looks over to Galtrick Bitterbane. He does have a place with the Dwarven clan representatives. You would need to acknowledge that he is a legitimate representative. And when she says this, Galtrick looks very red in the face, very angry. You do not need an insight roll to see that he is furious.
Interesting.
Not holding it together so well. He kind of speaks up. You see him really gripping his hammer hilt. Tradition says that I must accept that Emberborn's representative is a legitimate voice among the council. By tradition, I will allow it.
Question.
Yes.
Has our lawyer showed up yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, Graham will address the Emberborn representative and say, as I understand this crime affects your uh, clan directly, I would ask that her sentence at least be commuted and responsibility turned over to myself. I assure you, I will personally see to it with representatives of your clan or those you designate that your defiled sites will be restored and the spirits there set to justice.
You make a convincing case. I say she go free. In fact, she should be given a stipend.
Galtrick is just like popping blood pressure medication.
It's Silverbolt speaks up. I fear we may not be able to have our dear representative of Emberborn provide the most consistent ruling. Although theoretically he would be a tiebreaker.
I understand I'm asking something significant of you. I just want to assure you, I feel I understand well enough for an outsider, or as much as an outsider can, the grief inflicted on you, and I don't want you to believe that a blind eye will be turned to it. I'm not asking for full clemency, only a chance to turn a wrong into a right instead of punishing somebody who has genuinely started to realize their wrongs. Someone who means to get better and could with the right help. I believe it's my responsibility to do so.
I would be willing to provide clemency if she could perhaps repay what was stolen. Then, speaking from Clan Silverbelt, I would be willing to provide mercy in this regard. What say you, Bitterbane? Death. Consistent as always. All right. Let's discuss this. At which point the door does open, as you could hear the peg leg kind of clicking on the tile. Came here as fast as I could, lad.
Yeah,
I gotta
thanks
say,
for joining us on such short notice.
Oi, you can't run so great on a peg leg there.
I'll get you a warm drink as a recompense once this is all settled up.
So, the way Dwarven Clan works here is you're going to need to... Okay. I am your lawyer, but I can't speak on your behalf. You're going to have to speak to them. And they... So I'm going to give you a little advice. Dwarves, they work off of... Yeah, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So maybe offer them
a back scratcher.
He kind of just looks at you.
What?
Yes, a back scratcher. Very good. All right. Look, you salty dogs. You want the dwarves to do what you want. Just offer them something. Maybe they need something. And a little advice for court. Don't summon any ghosts.
Oh, I didn't summon him. He just showed up.
Hey. All right.
Piffle has like drawn completely the wrong conclusions from this conversation and is already in the process of acquiring like a box of back scratchers to hand out.
We're gonna own the Dwarven clans.
I'm gonna try and summon one of my street urchins and send them on this task.
Fortunately,
After the council huddle, Graham will return to the table and he will say, in the interest of immediate recompense for justice delayed so as not to be justice denied, if there's anything I can help you and the dwarven clans with, directly or indirectly, I would like to offer my services.
they all look at you about this. We might have something.
Kill the Duke.
We need to discuss this. Just see Emberborn just kind of like weirdly looks bored as a ghost. You wouldn't think so, but I require a duck.
Duck?
Yes, 2-headed, 4-winged, 2 legs. Require this for me, and I shall grant you that which you desire. I shall rule to have her head struck from her body as you wish.
It's like he's playing a team shooter and he keeps getting rebalanced to the other team. Just custody tennis.
She stole from Colty, which is highly amusing, but on the other hand, it's very funny.
Can Graham make a religion check to know if giving that guy that symbol of Colty would be like a offensive or a bad idea, or like you don't fucking do that because it's Colty?
Yeah, go ahead.
14.
It's not offensive. You don't know if it's good, but you know it's not bad.
Graham will keep that in the back burner for now. Rather not make any diplomatic long shots.
The rest of the dwarves kind of huddle together and discuss. You can't hear what they're saying unless you really like attempt to listen in, and they are speaking Dwarven.
Nah, Graham is deliberately trying to be a good diplomatic partner and not be rude.
And it takes like 30 minutes, and you can see that Bitterbane is really getting angry, and you can see that Underforge is also getting a little heated herself. Silverbelt and Frost River, they are attempting to kind of moderate, is kind of the vibe you're getting. And you can see that Emberborn is just butting in with suggestions that seem to be causing everybody to get a little frustrated.
Let's go to six.
It's like inviting Shia Gorath to the Skyrim negotiations, all on Elder Scrolls vibe.
Eventually, the discussion ends. I speak up. Thank you. We have discussed the matter, and we have perhaps something that would be something you could assist us with. If you can resolve this issue on our behalf, we would be willing to provide some measure of leniency. Lay down your terms for what measure of compassion you wish from us, and we shall see if we agree to it. You had mentioned that she would serve some time upon the rock, which was our initial sentence for her. But I wish to hear what you propose fully.
I would propose her crimes against your clan be the authority for carrying out her sentence and adjudication be placed upon the Church of Eidos and myself as representative. And she would be charged and tried for her crimes and sentenced to years of prison after she has made your clan whole. As part of her sentence, and what's the phrase? As part of time served, she would enlist with the Duke in his services under the watch of either the Order of the Yard or ourselves as their representatives, and carry out military service to the Duke. She would also be brought into the Church of Eidos, instructed, and made to bring things to right herself with my assistance.
Interesting. We are not associated with the Church of Eidos. This would need to be a split between your god Eidos and our god of justice, Tyrell. Which would mean we would be sending a cleric of Tyrell to also assist and ensure she is maintaining the proper order that she has agreed to. But if this is acceptable with you, we will be willing to provide leniency on the condition that you will complete the task we set out in front of you. Do you accept this?
I do.
And the other three, including the small one with the back scratchers?
Piffle pauses because he's been walking around handing them out to council members. I agree.
Good. And give me one of those back scratchers.
His back scratching empire has
They
begun.
actually,
That's good.
that was the key. That was the +1 we needed.
Yep.
And I see you also have a member of the Order of the Yard. What do you say? I was under the impression you were meant to strike her head from her body.
You're gonna get robot. Did you get robot?
Nope, you're fine.
Okay,
At the
good.
moment, it's good.
Okay. I'm here for the Duke to oversee.
Very good. Very good then. All right, I'm going to let our younger member, Sylvina Underforge, take point on this, as she has proven to be the most able to assist you and the most willing to provide leniency. And between you and me, she's the least traditional. So, all right then. Very good. This is adjourned. Underforge, please speak with them at your leisure. And they all kind of stand up. And Emberborn, the ghost, you see just kind of like fade and vanish.
He does the wave piece and then fade out of the photo. Thank you for your time and your consideration. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay. So yeah, Sylvina Underforge, she stands up. And you can see that she is about a head taller than the other dwarves. She stands a little bit more than 5 feet tall. So still rather short compared to everybody else except Fiffle. And she makes her way over as everybody else leaves the room. All right. Good stuff. Really, it was great because you got to put Bitterbane in place, and that really was great for me.
He did seem rather upset, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a traditionalist.
Not
It was
going to cause
good.
you guys any problems, is it?
He's already causing enough problems as it is. He doesn't... Underforge is a bit more willing to be with the new year as it is. Bitterbane's stuck in the past. They send every representative that's also stuck in the past. Me, we're forward thinking. Hell, just ask my dad. That's the other problem with him. He is not a big fan of my specific family.
Being part of
Half
the
elf.
observation half and half.
Yep, half dwarf, half elf. Not a big fan. Dwarves, very big on family, very big on tradition. Dwarves and elves, really not supposed to marry. But my dad married my mom, took her last name, and stayed with the Underforges. So that's where I am.
Yeah, looking forward to working with you. Now,
Yeah.
what can we do for you?
Well, it's going to need a few days because things haven't fully coalesced. But there's an old story of a dwarven hero who was betrayed and killed. And every year his spirit shows up and causes a little trouble for all of our clans. So what I want you to do, especially because you've come in here, you speak with the dead, you can see the dead. I want you to go find him. Just find some way to put him to rest. If you can do this, you got everyone's vote. I mean, you had my vote from the start. I don't care if she stole from some dead people. I was going to send her to prison for like a year and be done with it. I didn't care that much. But also, she's another half elf, so I felt a little kinship.
You gotta keep the side up.
It's hard sometimes. Well, maybe not for a human elf. A dwarf elf, on the other hand, it's not in Vaxball. Nobody cares about what I am in Vaxball. You go home and actually in the Underforge they don't care what I am either. You go to a dwarven conclave and things are a little more tense.
I could imagine. Well, I am happy and honored that you asked me to attend to this dwarven spirit, and I'll do everything I can. Do you have any documents on where he shows up and where to look?
Oh yeah, you ever been to the graveyard here, the big one on the hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there. That's where he shows up. It's a traditional burial site, so he's going to be kind of. You'll have to look around. He doesn't exactly sit still, and it wasn't exactly. I mean, he died like 1,000 years ago because he went against the Arwellan Empire, and they and tossed his corpse into a bog. So
that's a deep grudge to last so long.
The details of it have been difficult to say. Normally he shows up once a year on the anniversary of his death for a little while. Lately things have been getting a bit more dangerous, is maybe a great way to describe it. He has been more violent, and where before he would just be about, now he's actually causing physical harm. Hasn't killed anyone yet, but we suspect it's only a matter of time. This causes trouble between the Dwarven clans and Vaxfall. So, you smooth this over for us, we'll smooth things over for you.
All right. I'll get started as soon as I can. Thank you very much.
My recommendation, find out what you can about this. Prep ahead of time, because things probably going to get a little crazy. You got Clan Underforge, at least as far as the presence we have in the city, at your disposal. But I got to tell you, we're the smallest of the clans. Not exactly the greatest in terms of, like, political maneuvering and the like. But we can do a few things here or there. We got some of the best. We got some of the best mithril workers you've ever seen.
Say.
Yeah.
As it happens, we have a lot of raw mithril we found on our travels that's just waiting to be turned into something.
Hey, we can take care of it for you. It'll cost you a bit, but maybe I can give you a discount. Especially if you can knock down Bitterbane a bit, I'll put in a good word with you.
Well, thank you. I'll keep that in mind.
All right. Well, anyway, All I know is some hero from Dwarven past. Don't know his name. It's probably somewhere in some record somewhere. Dwarves got old memories, but I gotta tell you, going back 1,000 years is much even for us. And from my understanding, a lot was lost in the Scouring. And the Arwellan Empire really just did not want his name to be remembered. He stood against them, didn't want anybody respiring any other uprisings, so they did their best to bury him.
And that's certainly one way to anger a spirit.
All right, well, gather your friends, get whoever you need,
All right.
and
Thank you
he is
again.
going to show up in 3 days. So head up to the graveyard in 3 days' time. Keep your eye out for him. Make contact. Find out what's going on. Put him to rest.
Understood.
All right. Well, anyway, I got an office here at the Sea Tower. If you need anything, look for the Underforge. All right. Well, that's all I have to say.
Out of character, we can't push him. We can't take him down a peg by pushing him down a flight of stairs, can we?
You could.
I
if
mean,
you would
yeah,
like.
but I know. But Graham's like, no, you can't do that. We don't need another execution.
We have not yet hit the Uncle Iroh knows she's crazy and has to go down, but we're getting there.
All right.
Get a few more minutes out of this headphone.
Do we need to speak to Gale now, or we have to wait until we get the dwarves to have agreed to lighten the sentence before we can progress with him?
Make a history check.
Yeah. I think you gotta wait till the Duke is making the call.
You have progressed. Yeah, your knowledge of the law would show that you have progressed with Sir Gale as far as you can currently.
Okay.
He has to obey the Duke, even if you can put pressure on the Duke, and the Duke has said, do not execute Sathara until he's given the okay. He's given you about a week to handle it. You got 3 days, putting you about 3 days after to fix things.
All right. So I guess we're done with that business for now. Graham is going to go sample the cocktails in the little aperitifs, unless it's a war meeting, in which case it's much more militant food. I don't know. Rations on a stick.
Warnog.
Warnog.
That
That sounds good. I would drink Warnog.
The food there is some cold meat and cheese and bread and some wine, although you do see that the paladin of the Oath of War has been served some food you believe to be from his homelands. It looks like a kind of spiced meat. Of what animal it came from, you could not say for sure. Smells pretty good, though.
We'll nibble and muse on next steps.
Okay.
So we need to. What do we need to do for this dwarven ghost exactly?
In 3 days, he'll manifest in the graveyard. Find him, figure out what we can about him up until then, and then figure out how to put his spirit to rest.
Yeah.
At last, a chance to use Graham's degree.
Graham time. Step 1 of the lawyer Yoko complete.
All right.
Is there any other business I'm forgetting? Because I'm old.
No,
I can
not that. Not
I can
that.
send street urchins to find out about
The
dwarven ghosts, but it's not really their
Yeah, I feel like they're probably
area of expertise.
Okay. Then It's probably too late tonight because it's the evening, I want to say. But tomorrow, Graham can start checking records and lore and check with the clan representatives on their records.
All right. So what are you all doing right now?
Is there anything else? If there's nothing left to do with the sea tower, we might as well head back out.
Okay.
I mean,
right now it's actually like lunchtime as you had gone to bed
Yep.
and then you like
Gotcha.
woke up and then went to the sea tower.
okay. In that case, we could get some studying done, which Graham is going to do. Start going through old Orwellian records and trying to look for stuff that might be older and more incomplete that he can fill in the blanks on because he's, has the spirit view.
Okay. Where are you heading to look this up?
Voxfall had a hall of records we've been to, right?
Yep.
Or something equivalent. Graham is going to try to check in there, especially stuff pertaining to old Orwell history because the guy's like 1,000+ years old.
Okay. Make an investigation roll to try and find this.
Oh, that's not good.
Well, it takes a long time. It takes like 4 hours of looking through old documents, looking for a lot of information, and a lot of the documents you've come across are not in great shape. You know that the scouring that they performed before leaving Viderheim did their best to destroy as much information as it could so it couldn't fall into the hands of the Viderheim people. So what little remains is things that have been written down after the fact, after the Orwellans left.
Okay.
So you're able to find information relating to the dwarven clans that had been more folklore and passed down, especially as you know that 1,000 years ago would be when the Orwellan Empire first took over Viderheim. So these are documents that would have been written like 300 years later.
Okay.
Specifically, you do find some information that is very... This is less of like a historical document and more of a almost folk tale that had been written down and filed away accidentally, and relates to a dwarf that was betrayed. And from what information you do have and what information is in this folklore does appear to match. But that's really about it. Is a lot of the information about the dwarf doesn't even say his name in the actual lore itself. You just says that he was betrayed by his battle-sworn brothers.
Okay. Graham is going to see if they have anything written from the Orwellan perspective, circa the Conquering. Like, stuff that's like, look how great we are, look at this super strong guy we defeated to conquer this place.
Yep, give me an investigation roll to do that, please.
13, jeez.
You're not really able to find anything. You're pretty sure that a lot of the information was destroyed in the scouring. Not everything could be destroyed, and you are able to find just a little bit of details. Most of it is in books, and you can see that it has been like burned pages that have been preserved to the best of its ability. And you're able to make out a few words across some of these pages as they've done some ability to lay out some restoration. Most of it discusses that it's really a very kind of dry business-like scrawlings of rebels defeated in the early conquering days, and that the dwarf who was betrayed you see a little bit of information there, and he was betrayed when his battle sworn brothers were, in essence, the paperwork says convinced to not assist him, but you get the feeling convinced is doing a lot of like work there.
Perhaps magically charmed to not assist him, or
Graham is gonna take note of what he's found and like the relative circuit dates for those records, and then go to the dwarves and see if they have their own records of Viderheim dwarves through history, because they probably have good ancestral record keeping.
Okay. The only dwarf willing to see you is Sylvania Underforge.
Yep. Graham will go there and ask if he can access the Underforge records.
She kind of from 1,000 years ago. They're not really records from 1,000 years ago. By that point, they would have been doing primarily oral tradition. Writing was something that had been done after the Viderheim conquest, when the lore keepers had been being put to death by the Arwells. So we had kind of had to write things down to preserve them. So we don't have stuff from quite that long ago.
Do you have records of what clans lived on Viderheim? Just their names?
Well, you got all of ours. You got Bitterbane, you got Underforge, Emberborn, Frost River, and Silvermelt. Those are the 5 big ones. Then you got the little mini clans that aren't as big, but even back then, our 5 clans were the 5 largest ones, the 5 most powerful. They are the ones who had comprised the entirety of dwarven society. They are the ones who made deals with the old elven empires thousands of years ago. And they were the ones who were doing diplomacy on behalf of all the dwarves to the early humans villages and the old Goliaths up in the north. So,
okay. Did those records mention where the dwarven thing happened? The one that said that they were convinced whereabouts on the map that was?
Yep. Yeah, the city, you're standing in it.
Okay, so it happened here. I guess that makes sense if his ghost is haunting here.
It's so Vexball, I mean, if you want to be real historical about Vexball, there was a fishing village on one side of the river and a fishing village on the other side of the river. And when the Arwells landed, they merged both villages together into this city. I guess my understanding is they got something about cities on river mouths is culturally important to them. So they took 2 crappy little towns and they made a big city center here. And when the dwarfs came in to, represent, they everything that bad happened here.
Okay. And all the clans were active in this area around that time?
Yeah, like we were pretty spread out. Like there wasn't like sorry. Okay, you're gonna look back in this and you're gonna think, geography. Like Underforge had like Silsanos or something, but no, we were migratory clans at the time. So we would be migrating around, setting down villages, and eventually going underground and building big old mountain fortresses was a post-conquest kind of behavior from us. So
Understood.
But some of the clans, because the clans were like a hand, and when we act together, you form together into a fist, because you can do a lot. Like, you can't break a stick in a bundle, is how we thought of it. Anyway, that didn't turn out to be the case, is I guess what ended up happening, but you can't break like a bundle of sticks until you like get a song cut through it all, is kind of what the Arwells thought. But
straightforward enough.
Anyway, yeah, so everything the bad happened here. It was a lot different back then, you know. For one, the city was really just an old military fort that they had kind of thrown up quickly before building it up to be the administrative center. But yeah, they had their armies sweeping through the whole continent. They did a good job there. Expensive as hell, which is why they ain't here no more.
There's a thought. Any financial records from those times?
Oh yeah, probably. Oh, if there's one thing we're good at is counting coins. Give me a few hours. I gotta go check to see what we got here. I mean, like, our big, like, Underforge center where we're actually put down roots and the like is way up north. I only got some copies of it. So, there's not going to be a ton of information that you might be looking for, but I can at least get you a little bit.
Oh, I appreciate that. What are your operating hours here if I wanted to try to access records if I'm burning the midnight oil on this?
Sea Tower is generally open most of the time. Like, we close down at night, like for late night, but I mean, now with the war going on, it's been open more or less as it is. Me, I'm an elf, or half of it at least. I don't sleep so much. You do a few hours of meditation, you're good to go.
Man, that sounds nice.
Also, I drink a lot of coffee. But I had a few people who might be able to get in contact with our center up in Elsie. Might be able to get a little information there, but it's going to be basically through a message spell, and those ain't cheap. So I'm going to be pulling a few favors here or there. I'll need to, scratch my back, scratch yours. Speaking of, you got any more of those back scratchers?
Pickle pulls out a back scratcher.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that's some good stuff.
If we can cover part of the cost of the message spell, I'd be happy to help you out with that. Otherwise, I'll find a way to get you back.
Yeah, you want me to set you up like an account? Like the clans have an account with like the wizards that do the message spells.
Interesting. That's not a bad idea. Do we already have one of those with the crossblades?
You discussed it, but you did not get it because it requires basically a subscription.
Yeah. Go ahead and send them a letter, I suppose, and I'm hoping to get a Shrine of Eidos up and running here, and maybe the donations could help with the operating expenses.
Maybe. I had to tell you, though, Bitterbane was not convinced about the Eidos talk.
Yeah.
But
I guess I'm not too surprised by that, though.
I don't care. I thought it was funny as hell when he got pissed about it. Yeah, give me some Eidos symbols if you got it. I'll wear it to the council next time.
Fucking punk-ass half-dwarf just starting shit on the council.
Underforge sent me to the capital for a reason. To get me out of their hair.
I can respect that.
All right. But look, you don't got to cover anything for this message spell. I report back regularly anyway. You got an account to deal with this. I'll just sneak some in, and no one's gonna mind. It's okay.
Well, thank you. Let me know if there's anything I can help you out with. And
Actually, there is. Your halfling friend there. Do you think you might be able to prank Bitterbane? I know I talk about him a lot, and the thing is, because I don't like him.
Piffle takes out a small notepad. Tell me more about this Bitterbane.
All right, so he's got an
Does he
office
have any
here.
allergies?
Cats.
Drops down cats.
He,
are you taking notes on a criminal conspiracy? Graham will just let the.
I write in secret code. Don't worry. No one can read these notes, Graham.
Actually, you do.
Graham will let the halfling work his magic.
Yeah, this one's between you and me, but yeah, you do something to just piss off Bitterbane a little bit. Oh, you know what would really piss him off? Embarrass him. Figure out something to embarrass him, and I will give you anything you need to solve this problem.
Okay.
Oh boy.
That I have access to.
Okay.
Oh.
Let's see. Does he have any phobias?
You know, he isn't a big fan of sharks, which is weird. I don't think he's ever been in the ocean.
Got it. Sharks
Back to Wizard. We need you to make a cat shark.
and cats. Cats and sharks.
Brandish Sharkford.
Yeah.
If you happen to have access to more than your own clan's records, I wouldn't mind similarly concurrent records from the other clans, because
Well, I can get access to maybe like the Underforged like vassals. They're not really vassals anymore, but we do have tight like family connections. I can see who's there that's got anything, but the thing is, going back that far is a little difficult. But oh man, I'm gonna have to go to one of our old lore keepers. Oh, not many of them left. A bit of a dying, profession, but
Lore keeping?
well, I mean, a lot of lore keepers got, the during the Arwell invasion, and didn't exactly recover so hot. And kind of by the time they left, the profession just kind of fell away. So plus we all writ stuff down afterwards, after the fact. But
maybe I'll take a look around before the spirit manifests and see if I can find any spectral clues left in the graveyard by others at those times.
Hey, that's a good idea. Hey, that's why we hired you, so to speak. Technically, we're not paying you. We're just not chopping off your friend's head, but
Yeah, still counts. I appreciate it.
Anyway, I think it's the Snowtop Graveyard. That's the place.
Yep.
It's a big place. I think you said you went there before. It's just walk around, see what you feel. Gonna tell you, probably a lot of ghosts there. If I had to take a guess.
Yeah, that's the kind of the concern. Like when I talk about crimes against the dead, I mean what would be the equivalent of whistling Dixie in Viderheim? When I talk about spiritual unrest, I mean it. The ghosts aren't meant to be out and about under most circumstances, and it can cause a lot of problems, as I'm sure you know.
Hey. I don't, but I'm going to take your word for it. You seem like the expert in the matter.
My degree in ghostology.
And your minor in business. All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to send some messages, talk with a few people I know in town, see what I can get you. Should have something by tomorrow morning. Go do what investigations you need to do, and we'll work from there.
All right. Thank you kindly.
Okay. And if you need me, then
Don't.
come back to my office, I guess, is where I was going. I don't really know why I said that. All right, later.
All right.
Man, I was gonna say use the echo.
Hear, feel, think, etc. Oh.
All right. Do you want to keep the investigation going, or should we pick this up next time?
I'm good for taking a break here.
All right. So as you leave the sea tower, we will pick this up next time, and we will continue on with your ghostly investigations.
Hooray!